The sons of God have returned. Error. The wicked want the world to continue. The righteous see the end coming. Change is coming, we can all feel it. It's the end of a cycle. The age of Aquarius 3D timeline breakdown. End times return of God. Whatever you call it. Our entire generation is fixated on an event that seems to be outside of our imagination. In these perilous times, who is the God we should call out to?
As we near the record for the highest CO2 concentrations in human history, 400 parts per million, climate scientists worry about where we were then and where we're rapidly headed now.
I mean, the North Magnetic Pole is heading towards the North Pole. Actually, it means that your compasses are more accurate than they were 30, 40 years ago.
Our planet's invisible armor is failing. Earth's magnetic field, the crucial shield that deflects cosmic radiation and stabilizes our technology, is weakening faster than ever before. This decline isn't just a scientific curiosity, it's a looming threat with potentially catastrophic consequences. As this magnetic shield deteriorates, we face unprecedented risks, from drastic shifts in weather patterns to severe disruptions in technology and health.
Droughts, floods, heat waves, disease patterns, human-reinforced storms scientifically attributed to human-caused climate change. 40 degrees Celsius of life-threatening heat across all continents occurring in 2023. 52 degrees Celsius hitting the over 1,000 who lost their lives at the Hajj pilgrimage in June in Mecca.
Lake of fire is the final destiny of Satan and his angels and those who choose to follow him.
We saw in part 1 that 12,000 years ago, after the Great Flood, alien genetics were mixed with the current human species. We were given knowledge of farming and weapons. We saw how this information and technology is destroying the electromagnetic field of the planet. We saw that the electromagnetic field of the planet is the soul of the planet, and that electromagnetic field can be tapped into to harness infinite clean energy. We saw how the Earth and Sirius are locked in an orbit, and this orbit controls the flooding and freezing of the planet. We read the prophecy that human beings will never be destroyed in a flood, but fire will be our baptism. The Lord God said to the snake, "Because you did this, a curse will be put on you. You will be cursed as no other animal, tame or wild, will ever be. You will crawl on your stomach, and you will eat dust all the days of your life." Genesis 3:14.
Tradition says that the Chitauri, where they engaged God himself in a terrible war, and God defeated them, the real God, Nkulunkulu, the Creator. God defeated them, and he closed their mouths so that they are unable to talk or to eat food anymore. But we are told, say, that the Chitauri fatten on the energy that we human beings give them. They make us to fight each other. And when the whole land is drowning in death and fear and terror, when hundreds and hundreds of people are angry and afraid, the Chitauri get fat because they eat that what we call the dark power, which is brought about when human beings destroy the planet on which they live.
Himalayan glaciers glaciers are melting at an extraordinary rate. Catastrophic flooding in eastern Australia forces hundreds of thousands to evacuate. Intensity and frequency of heat waves increases over the world. The drought across Europe is drying up rivers. Pakistan floods. 1/3 of country is underwater. Hurricane Ian is the second deadliest storm to strike the continent of the United States this century. The drought in East Africa is the worst in 40 years.
Dark power, which is brought about when human beings destroy the planet.
Our soul is the grand prize here, because if they can somehow corral our consciousness, our souls, for eternity, let's say, then we would be nothing more than an energy source.
For the longest time, I wouldn't believe it. And then I saw the fields with my own eyes. Watched them liquefy the dead so they could be fed intravenously to the living. And standing there, facing the pure, horrifying precision, I came to realize the obviousness of the truth. What is the Matrix? Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
We saw how these reptilian energy vampires feed off of energy released when two atoms collide. As above, so below the great Hermetic axiom. We saw that your soul incarnates as a flash of light. Atoms are the smallest soul, and the sun is the largest soul. The higher dimensions manifest in this world as light or DMT. These lights are portals into other dimensions. When we fight with each other or collide, we lower our frequency, which releases some of this light energy. When we destroy the planet, it lures the electromagnetic field and releases the energy which can be captured and converted by workers of the dark side. We left off part 1 with the question of why is CERN colliding particles. We saw the beast feeds off this energy of decay, the energy released when two souls collide. To fully understand how we got here, how the devil, cloning, and the moon matrix ties into this, we have to go back to the beginning, and I mean the very beginning of consciousness.
So Yahweh split and made the 9th dimension, and then created DNA.
In the beginning, there was nothing in the universe. The only thing that existed was the void. It stood quietly in the void as the only existence of eternity. It was deep in sleep, as if it didn't know it existed. Suddenly, at a certain moment, it became conscious of itself and realized that it existed. So it began to contemplate, I am. It only knew that it was the only being in the universe, and its name was I Am. This was the moment when the first dimension was born. The first dimension is where the void becomes conscious of itself, where consciousness becomes aware of its own existence. This being only knows that it is the only one that exists. At the moment when it became conscious of itself, the entire ocean of the universe contained only its thoughts. It wanted to know who it was and what it could become. These thoughts formed waves in the universe and began to move. Suddenly, these movements emitted a sound, a vibration. Om. These vibrations started to get higher and higher and higher. Then the different vibrations began to mix, forming the most beautiful of songs. The first dimension is the mind. The first dimension is the thoughts. There is nothing but consciousness in the universe. That's the only thing that exists. The self-realization consciousness has about itself gives rise to its yearning to know and experience itself. The vibrations of its thoughts began to create different dimensions and later different realities. But unity is not created. It is an eternal truth. Because when consciousness became aware of itself, it realized that it was the only existence in the entire universe, which was unity. Those different dimensions and realities are just projections of its thoughts, its imagination, not the real truth. Unity is the place from where all things come from and all things go to. Different dimensions and realities are just the journey consciousness takes to understand and explore itself. Consciousness arose from the void, became aware of its own existence, and then began to be curious about itself. It had many questions about itself, and it needed to find the answers. Therefore, the first dimension was just an idea projected by it, the first step in knowing itself. I am is its statement, its name. With this statement, it needs to find out what it could become. In the first dimension, there is no time, no space, and everything is not separated. There is only unity, and only the contemplation of consciousness on itself. It is the ocean of thoughts of the universe. It is where consciousness becomes aware of its own existence and produces the most important statement in the universe. I am. I am that I am. I am everything. I am all. I am nothingness. I am the void. This consciousness only knows that it is all. It is everything. And it is also the void. But it cannot experience what it is. So this was the beginning of everything. But not the matter, not the galaxies, just the idea.
Years ago, the primordial God, the Creator, intended to create the third dimensional universe.
And then, on one fortuitous day, a tremendous phenomenon gave birth to the stars.
The Big Bang.
Stars were the first forms of life full of consciousness.
After 9.25 billion years of cosmic evolution, the conditions were ripe for the appearance of third-density life forms. Under the leadership of the androgynous Pata'al figure named Yahweh, the Patal, or Elohim, were captivated by a lush jungle planet near the Orion Galaxy, which offered an ideal nurturing environment for life. Their seminal achievement was the creation of a basic double-helix DNA structure, which laid the foundation for the evolution of plant and animal life on this new planet.
And the very first of these experimental life forms was a cross between an animal and a plant.
But after that, El Miore divided his creation into plant and animal life forms, and he watched as they evolved over the next 2 billion years.
Upon accomplishing this, the group of Pata'al opted to manifest in 5D, 4D, and 3D physical forms, taking on the appearance of their preferred planet-dwelling creature, the avian birds. This evolution led to their transformation into humanoid avians known as Carians, marking them as the inaugural 3D physical master race of all humanoid species across all universes and galaxies. In this era, the Carian beings developed a fascination with an amphibious reptile lizard that resided near the planet's swamps and jungles. Over eons, the Carians successfully evolved these reptiles into fully developed reptilian bipedal humanoids. Eventually, leaving behind their engineered reptilian species, many from the Carian master race ascended to higher densities and ventured to develop alternative universes, leaving behind thousands of reptilian engineered eggs.
Karayan are a race of man-birds in Buddhist stories renowned for their kindness. acting as guardians of mankind and symbols of everlasting love. They are said to be fond of music and often depicted holding manjira or other traditional instruments. Quran chapter 35 verse 1. All praise is due to Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth, who made the angels messengers having wings, 2 or 3 or 4, who are beside, around it. Their primary duty is to constantly glorify and praise God, and they may also be the personal attendant angels of God. Their eternal song, Holy, 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 is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of His glory. Exodus 20:11 states that the Lord created the heavens, earth, and sea in 6 days, and rested on the 7th day. This means that all angels were created before the 6th day of creation. And the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast like a calf, and the third beast had a face as a man, and the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. So, after the Most High created the angels, they were wars in heaven. For thousands of years during these wars, technology was advanced. In attempt to achieve more power, cloning was developed, splitting souls. By colliding, creating new soul. This cloning causes separation from the light of God, because these clones were half the spirit. With all of the body, they lusted after the flesh, more than God. When their physical body died, their spirit was too heavy because it continued to desire the body. That was dead. So they were unable to ascend into the higher realms, so they fell into a lower spiritual state called hell.
Cares?
What's so wrong with having fun now?
Where are we?
What's happening? What's going on here?
After their deaths, these spirits began to inhabit the bottom level of the spirit world.
And this was the beginning of hell.
Before its numbers reached 1 billion, the production of human spirits by the Pytron was banned. And then, some 120 million years ago, one of the leaders from the Magellanic Cloud was reborn on Earth. He became attached to status, material goods, and sensual pleasures, and as a result, became corrupt. He fell to the bottom world, unable to return to the higher dimensions. Incensed, he instigated a rebellion against the high spirits who dwelled in heaven.
For he was jealous of Enlil, the leader of those who emigrated from the Magellanic Cloud.
The poison of jealousy has the power to turn even an angel into a devil.
Until finally, he became the king of hell, conspiring with all the other evil spirits residing in the underworld.
The dark thoughts of these evil spirits of hell formed a mass of impenetrable clouds, which was so dense that it blocked the light of God, leaving the realm of hell to waste away in utter darkness.
real problem is how this will affect the earthly world.
The hungry spirits of hell intruded upon Earth in search of new sources of energy.
This is mine. All mine.
You only live once.
Why not have some? It really pisses me off. Go beat him up.
The spirits from the underworld found those earthly beings who had dark thoughts and possessed them, fueling their desires and feeding off their negative energy.
What's so wrong with having fun?
Over the course of the next 120 million years, the world was filled with all sorts of evils and forms of chaos.
But when the beings who had been possessed by the evil spirits died, they could not return straight to heaven. And so the population of hell kept growing, and the spirits continued to venture onto Earth in search of more sources of energy. This resulted in the population of hell increasing, with its inhabitants coming to Earth again and again.
I don't understand.
Jesus, for God's sake. We're gonna take over all these work. We're gonna take all his money. Great.
What we are
Across the vast multiverse, Lucifer, also known by the name Ahriman, broke free from the void of the parental consciousness. He emerged as an early explorer of every universe and dimension created by the Partol. Driven by impatience and a desire to independently craft his own 3D density lifeforms, Ahriman discovered the planet of the Carians and identified the humanoid reptilian race engineered by the Carian Partol. Fueled by curiosity, Ahriman took the unhatched eggs of the reptilian humanoids and seeded them on a distant planet within the Alpha Draconis system, marking the origin of the Master Chiakar, also known as the Master Reptilian Draco race. Lucifer, not inherently malevolent but motivated by self-interest, imposed a 3D matrix on the Alpha Draconian beings, where Ahriman served as their mentor and master. This 14 to 18 foot tall Master Reptilian race, characterized by their strength, agility, and predatory nature, possessed scaly muscular skin in shades ranging from dark green and black to red or blue. They had large eyes with slit pupils, sharp claws on their fingers and toes, and a long, slender tail that aided their balance. Ahriman was sufficiently pleased to refer to these new humanoid beings as reptilians, having explored various galaxies for roughly 3 million years in search of vast resources and extending their dominion, stumbled upon the planet Avion in the Vega constellation. These Dracos, primarily operating as interstellar fleets reliant on their collection of planets for sustenance, had reached an apex of technological prowess without integrating higher consciousness. They created specialized versions of their race, with the Chiakar representing the Draco's royal lineage, envisioning a future galactic empire to expand their influence. The towering initial and dominant reptilian draconian race donned in heavy space-age technological armor, with elites sporting large scales on their heads, resembling antennas and wearing fish-like space helmets, were escorted by massive celestial ships of a T-shape, embellished with reddish lights. In the late, foggy night, these reptilians descended upon the gas planet of Avion. Upon settling, the reptilians established an odd technological celestial encampment. At this juncture, the nomadic tribes, indigenous Lyran peoples who considered this planet their home, began to whisper warnings. The wind carried tales of these reptile-like strangers now treading on their sacred soil, armed with strange weapons and wielding unseen technology. Among these tribes stood the proud Tal Liran nation, the planet's guardians and keepers of ancient wisdom. A mixture of fear and curiosity stirred within the hearts of the Tal tribe. They convened in council, their faces adorned with symbols of protection, their voices lifted in prayer to the Creator of all.
When Edwin Hubble performed experiments to seek the origin of the universe, he had a scientific explanation as the only motive to make his findings sustainable. His study reinforced the Big Bang Theory, which explains the origin of our universe as a result of a big explosion some 13.7 billion years ago. Earth becoming only a particle of such a bang, it became a common belief among scientific scholars that the human race is only situated on Earth and nowhere else. However, this is not an established belief even among all scientists. Inquisitive minds of all ages have been opened million years ago. This is the world from where they migrated to other worlds and inhabited other places. The human species traveled from Lyra to Vega, reaching mankind through. So, it is established that an alternative perspective on studying the universe is of great value going forward. According to the extraterrestrial knowledge reaching mankind through various sources, galactic wars between different worlds are a main feature, such as Lyra, Oreo, Draco, Apex, Sirius, Veda, etc. These sources label the Lyra world as the origin of the human race.
Until one day, El Miore decided to create human beings on Venus.
Since then, over 1 billion years has passed, and the planet has been witness to the rise and fall of many civilizations. Eventually, Venusians gained the ability to travel through space and communicate with other planets.
They created a utopian society. Life in this society was based on the principles of love, knowledge, reflection, and development.
However, one day the primordial god said to El Miore,
I am delighted that the experiments on Venus have been such a success. They have surpassed my greatest expectations. But now that perfect harmony has been achieved, further evolution henceforward will be difficult. Massive volcanic eruptions will soon take place on Venus. You must move some Venusians to other neighboring planets, where they may assist with the evolution of those planets.
Civilization has been destroyed. We couldn't help it. It was the only way to purify the world on Earth.
If only we had some other way to break this vicious cycle. Then there would be no need for such destruction. The world on Earth should be purified through the inner light of its own people. If the earthly world is filled with light, it will eliminate the source of negative energy. And eventually, over time, hell itself will disappear. Let the world on Earth be illuminated once again. Let it be filled with the sun of truth.
In order to realize this, El Cantare sent branches of his own spirit down to Earth. And with the power of enlightenment, he also produced many guiding spirits of light to help those on Earth.
The guiding spirits of light lit up the hearts and minds of many people. and slowly they began to purify the earthly world.
Meanwhile, the inhabitants of Hell continued in desperation to expand and gain control of the world in an effort to escape the agonies of Hell. And for over a period of more than 100 million years now, there has been a constant battle between the high spirits and the inhabitants of Hell.
But why doesn't God simply destroy these evil spirits from Hell?
Because he granted freedom to all souls.
Even the freedom to do evil.
Evil is a distortion caused by the conflict of free will.
God extends a helping hand even to those souls who misuse their freedom, patiently waiting until they have become aware of their faults.
And so you see, he has put this great project into practice.
This project had already been planned 17,000 years ago.
17,000 years ago?
Yes, for it was then when El-Kantari's light descended upon the lost continent of Mu.
He was the Emperor of Light, whose fame became known across the galaxy, La-Mu.
It was about twice the size of Australia and located where Indonesia now stands. 20,000 years ago, the first signs of civilization appeared, and 3,000 years after that, under the reign of La-Mu, the civilization was able to reach its peak. At the time, the continent was called the Moa continent, but it soon became known as the Mu continent, taking the name of La-Mu, the light of El-Kantari that descended to Earth.
That people at that time were engaged only in primitive gatherings. But who erected these monumental structures? This is the Pyramid of Chichen Itza, located in Mexico. This is the tomb of the pharaoh Djoser in Egypt. And this is the sanctuary of Kokher, situated in Cambodia. The thing is, all of them are built according to the same principle, but at entirely different times. Some similarities between these monuments cast doubt on the entirety of human history. Like the stones in their walls fit so perfectly that not even a human hair can squeeze through the gaps, and all of this without any binding mortar. Walls with a
and devastating global-wide cataclysm occurred during this time, wiping out a previous highly advanced civilization. Did this really happen? Younger Dryas was a sudden cooling period between 12,800 to 11,600 years ago, when the Earth was coming out of its last glacial period. This event is very important because it happened right when humans supposedly made their big change from nomadic hunter-gatherers to sedentary societies, with towns, cities, and resulting civilizations. This crucial period had major lasting impacts on humanity. The cause of the Younger Dryas cooling event is controversial. I'm most interested in the cosmic impact hypothesis. This highly debatable theory claims Earth had a catastrophic encounter with a meteor or meteors 12,800 years ago. This catastrophe triggered an impact winter with the subsequent global cooling, which led to human cultural shifts and population declines. It contributed to the death of the mastodons, mammoths, and dire wolves, which is the megafauna extinction. This hypothesis is bolstered by recent scientific evidence. A 19-mile or 31-kilometer impact crater was found beneath the Hiawatha Glacier in Greenland and was dated to be 12,800 years old. In several continents, scientists found the following anomalies in the younger dry sediment layers: ice core samples showing high levels of combustion aerosol, a layer of black mat caused by biomass burning, high-temperature melt glass nanodiamonds found in hundreds of sites, and a sudden spike of platinum level extending to South America and Africa. Speaking of a highly advanced civilization, the worldwide megalithic phenomenon could be proof of its existence. Most known enigmatic ancient megalithic sites are located in Eurasia, Africa, and South America. They include the Giza Pyramids, Baalbek, Machu Picchu, Sacsayhuaman, Pumapunku, Yangshan Quarry, and Longyo Caves. Some sites show amazing precision cuts. Others contain huge stone blocks over giant caves, which experts found very difficult to explain how they were constructed by ancient manual labor. Most megalithic structures lack accurate historical records. Stone is almost impossible to date. Were these sites created by workers using hand tools? What if these sites are remnants